Welcome to Nehemiah's Neighborhood Restoration Program. This session is going to be a basic overview of who Nehemiah is and how our program works. My name is Donnie Jones. Nehemiah is a Sacramento, California-based social enterprise that has been transforming lives and communities since 1994. Our family of nonprofit and for-profit companies provides programs and services that promote homeownership opportunities, education, wealth empowerment, along with community development. Many of you have heard of Nehemiah before. The Nehemiah Social Enterprise has a long history of innovative programs that have helped individuals, families, and communities across the United States, including down payment assistance, which sunsetted in 2008, homeownership education, the Nehemiah Emerging Leaders Program, community revitalization, and real estate development. The Neighborhood Restoration Program contributes to the mission of our social enterprise by providing homeownership opportunities in many markets where countless first-time home buyers and low to moderate income families are locked out of homeownership because they are competing with all-cash investors at a time when qualifying for a mortgage is much more challenging than it has been in the past. We are rehabbing homes that often are in desperate need of improvement, which increases property values for neighborhood residents, while local governments benefit from the budget boost of a higher tax base and overall community revitalization. Nehemiah isn't a bank trying to mitigate non-performing assets. This is important to discuss because we do not have the luxury of slapping on some new paint, throwing some linoleum down on the floors and calling it rehabbed and ready for market. We are also not your typical real estate investor who is just out trying to buy low and sell high. We have specific guidelines and parameters we must meet based on our nonprofit status and the different programs we participate in nationally. The rehab scope, products, appliances, color schemes, etc. are all pre-approved and must be respected. In addition to the guidelines we are required to follow, we also want to make a positive difference in these neighborhoods, and because of that, our scope of work is typically greater than you would find on a bank-owned flip. The Nehemiah brand is behind each of these projects, and it is important to capture the essence of the quality and the depth of the rehab that we want to do and are required to do. So rather than training you on every aspect of our desired rehab, completing the questionnaire tab on our analysis form will provide the data needed to estimate the scope. We do provide a construction specifications document that outlines which materials, fixtures, paint colors, etc. for our contractors to use, but you are not required to learn it. The costs for our desired materials are built into the equations that drive the analysis form. Before we get into the analysis form, we have to have a property to analyze. Our benchmarks for profitability, which will then turn into program revenue, are that we need to meet or exceed a minimum of 10% cash on cash, and that 10% profit needs to meet or exceed $10,000. We need both. We are looking for properties that we can purchase, rehab, and sell to our target market while meeting our minimum benchmarks. While evaluating potential opportunities, we must factor in purchase price, acquisition and closing costs, rehab and landscaping, holding costs during the rehab and the time on the market to sell, settlement costs, concessions, price reductions, and of course real estate commissions. Our analysis form will be a critical tool to help in this complicated equation. There's a lot of work that you can do from your office while searching for good properties for this program. Many of our real estate partners have had success using MLS keywords and saved searches. Some keyword examples are fixer, TLC, bank-owned, REO, distressed, needs work, repair, motivated seller, the list goes on and on. We would also be open to all other inventory sources that you are aware of and feel would be a good fit for this program. Foreclosure auctions, tax lien sales, bulk sales, and good old-fashioned canvassing are always great ways to find those properties that competing buyers' agents have not already discovered. It's also important to talk about our target buyer when considering which properties would be good targets. The goal of our program is to serve the low to moderate income families. However, if a property matches all other requirements, for example, we're hitting our program revenue requirements and the profit percentage benchmark, please submit the opportunity to us and let us see if we can fit it into one of our other programs. One of the main benefits of a social enterprise is that we can make the most of opportunities that will generate program revenue that will fund our nonprofit charter initiatives. A good benchmark is any property that has a post-repaired value that is greater than $500,000 would be difficult for a low to moderate income family to purchase, regardless of where they live, regardless of their family size. The majority of our efforts will be in those communities that support values that are more in line with our target buyer. But again, we certainly want to look at good opportunities to generate program revenue regardless of the buyer profile. So let's go ahead and take a look at the analysis form. And I'm going to switch over to that. So our analysis form looks like this when you receive it. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of questions here and different colors. Yellow or highlighted color basically means that's where we need you to supply some information. To get started, what is the real estate professional's name? Let's say John Doe. Who is our primary contact for this property? Donnie Jones. What is the phone number for our primary contact? This actually is my phone number if anybody needs it. It's 916-283-1458. What is the name of the realtor company? Let's call this Core Realty. What is the property address? 2517 Loyola Drive. And that will be in what city? Sacramento. Oops, let's get that correct here. And that is in California, 95811. And for this property, is there a lockbox? Let's say that the lockbox is 5383. Okay, neighborhood characteristics. What is the average days on market for this property? Let's go ahead and say 90 days. What percent is rental? Let's go ahead and say that we are in a community that is 17% rental. If it is customary in this market to offer seller concessions, what percentage? Let's do 2% seller concessions. Now commission we have in there at 6, which we recommend that you leave alone. Next, what is the estimate monthly market rent? This is information that could help us evaluate whether this property could be part of a different program. Let's say that this could fetch $1,100 per month. Does the market customarily require price reductions? If so, what percentage? Now remember, all of these go into the numbers that determine whether this will pencil out or not. For this, let's say for now at least that it has a 2% price reduction typically in this area. Next question, what is the annual property tax amount? Let's go ahead and make it $2,000. Is there an HOA? So there's a drop down here and we're going to go ahead and say no for the HOA. How much are the annual HOA dues? That's non-applicable, so I'm going to leave it blank. If the property is a condo, is it currently FHA approved? And we're going to say non-applicable. Next, what is the property condition? We have very poor, poor, fair, good, and excellent. Of course, most of the properties that come through our program will be fair or poor. It's rare that we have something in good or excellent condition. Of course, that would be fine if it was. Next one, please pay attention to this. This is zip code prefix, and what's really important here is once we get through all of these questions, this form is going to generate an estimate of the cost for our rehab. Now the rehab costs that this form generates are actually specific to the zip code that the home is in. So we're going to go ahead and click this drop down, and it's not purely numeric, it's by state. So as you can see, Alabama is first. For this property, it's in California. So step one is find your state. So I'm going to scroll down through the A's, Arkansas, there's California. Next, the zip code was 95811. So let's find the first three, which is 958. There we have 958. So now that number is going to be driving a bunch of estimates. You will see some estimates even on this page, but it will be driving the rehab scope and estimated cost. Moving forward, is the water on or off? Let's go ahead and say the water is on. What is the total square feet? Let's call this a 1,200 square foot home. How many stories? 1, 2, or 3? Let's say we have a 2-story. We'll go ahead and scroll down a bit here. Is there a basement? Yes, no, or unknown. Let's say yes, there is a basement. If there is a basement, is it finished or unfinished? Our options are finished, unfinished, partial finish, unknown, or non-applicable. Let's call this a finished basement. Do you suspect any unpermitted square feet? No. What is the lot size in acres? By the way, if you have a lot size that's under an acre, it needs to start with a decimal point. So for example, let's say this is a quarter of an acre, so we would just simply input 0.25. What year was this property built? Let's go ahead and say 1977. And pardon me, I skipped one. What is the property type? So we have single family detached, condo, townhouse, duplex, triplex, co-op, and manufactured. We'll go single family detached. Here we have the year built, 1977. How many bedrooms? Let's do a 3-bedroom. How many bathrooms? 2 bathrooms. What is the garage type? We have converted, attached, detached, or no garage. Let's call it a detached. Garage size. No garage, 1 car, 2 car, or 3 car. Let's have this as a nice little detached 1-car garage. Small home, small garage. Type of sewer. We have public, septic, or cesspool, or other. Most of them, of course, will be public. We'll have septic in some of the rural areas. Cesspool is something that we find typically closer to the East Coast. Are there any code violations that you are aware of? Not at this point. If there was, of course, please select yes. Is this property conforming to the neighborhood? Conforming or non-conforming are our options. We'll say conforming for this example. Is there a pool? No. Does the property need a new garage door? Let's go ahead and say yes to the garage door. Next question, does the garage door opener need to be replaced? Let's go ahead and replace that as well. If there are any structural or foundation issues, what is your estimate to repair? So we're looking for a number here. If you see structural issues, we fully recognize that you are most likely not a structural engineer. But if we are going to get a good sense of whether this is a property we should purchase or not, and you do see cracks in the basement or other types of structural issues, please put a number in here of your estimate to repair those issues. I'm going to go ahead and put $2,500 in for that. If the property needs organic matter remediation, what is your estimate to repair? Same thing here. We know that you're not necessarily an organic matter expert, but if you do see these issues, please account for it, because these numbers are what are going to help determine whether we purchase this property or not. I'll go ahead and put $1,500 in for that. If the HVAC or furnace system requires work, what is your estimate to repair? let's say that it just needs probably a tune-up and servicing. Let's put $500 in for that. Does the water heater require work or need to be replaced? Yes or no? Let's go ahead and say no, the water heater is fine. Next question, does this property require oil or propane? No. If any windows need to be replaced, how many? Let's say that this property, well, it was built in 1977 and it's all single pane, and that there are 18 windows in the home, and we're going to replace them all. Next question, if any window screens need to be replaced, how many? Well, we're probably going to need 18 of those as well. Next question, does the front lawn need landscaping? Yes. As you can see as we go, it's starting to fill some numbers in. There are other numbers that are happening in the background. Some of them are displayed and some are not. Next question, if the backyard needs landscaping, including tree trimming, what is your cost estimate? Let's go ahead and put $750 in for the backyard. And next question, if the fence needs repair, what is your estimate to repair? When you're walking these homes, please walk out and go ahead and push on the fence. Make sure this thing isn't about to fall over. If it is, then let's go ahead and put some money in here to repair that. And I'll go ahead and put $750 in for that. If you observe any water intrusion issues, what is your estimate to repair? Let's say we don't see any of those, so we'll go ahead and select 0. Now, as you can see, these are not yellow here, so this isn't a question for you, and furthermore, you couldn't click in there anyway. Scrolling down, and probably about halfway done here. Do any bathtubs or showers need to be refinished? Well, we had a two-bedroom house, and let's say one of the bathtubs looked pretty bad and the other one looked fairly new. So we'll go ahead and refinish the bathtub. Pardon me, that was do any bathtubs or showers need to be refinished? Next question is, do any bathtubs or showers need to be replaced? So we finished one, let's go ahead and replace the other one, just for this example. Next question, how many bathroom vanities need to be replaced? Let's replace both of them. If you see any additional plumbing work required that isn't listed above, what is your estimate to repair? So as you can see up here, we're already replacing the toilets. We're already replacing all bathroom plumbing fixtures. We have one bathroom or shower being refinished, one bathroom or shower being replaced, 2 vanities being replaced. The question is there any additional work that you see in there? And let's go ahead and put another $500. Now we're on to flooring. How many square feet of carpet? We need you to walk these off. We need you in each room to walk off the amount of square footage and give us a total for the whole property. So how many square feet of carpet? Let's say it's 500 square feet of carpet. How many square feet of hardwood? Let's say there's 300 square feet of hardwood. How many square feet of tile? Let's say there's 300 square feet of tile. How many pardon me, that was vinyl. The next one is tile. How many square feet of tile? Let's say another 300 square feet of tile. Okay, so here's a problem real quick. See how this is red and we're at 116.67%? That means up top we selected the amount of square footage in the home, but when we input the different numbers of carpet, hardwood, vinyl, and tile, they don't add up. We're 116%, which means we're over, right? So there we go. 1200 is where we're at, which obviously matches above, and now we have a green light to move forward on the flooring. Next, let's move to the roof. Oh, pardon me, we still need to answer one question. If there is more than one story, what is the approximate number of stairs? Well, there is more than one. We said that this is a 2-story home. So let's say that there are 12 stairs, and that's important because stairs are expensive to recarpet. Now onto the roof. What type of roof? Our options are composite, shingle, shake, slate, tile, metal, flat, tar, and gravel. Let's go ahead and work with a composite roof here. What is the approximate age of the roof? Well, I guess we could say this is the original roof and say it's 36 or 7 years old. And what is the condition of the roof? Well, if this thing's almost 40 years old, I'm thinking it needs to be replaced. Our options are new, needs repair, or needs replacement. And then final question for the roof, what is the condition of the gutters and downspouts? Good condition or needs to be replaced? Let's go ahead and replace those as well. On to the electric. As you can see, we've pre-populated some in here, replacing all electrical switches, outlets, and covers, replacing all light fixtures unless modern and functional, and installing all new smoke detectors and CO detectors. First question here is the electricity on or off? It's on. And if you see any additional electrical work not listed above, what is your estimate? Let's go ahead and put $300 worth in there. Onto the kitchen. What is the condition of the kitchen cabinets? We have good condition, needs to be refinished, or needs to be replaced. Let's go ahead and select refinish. If there are additional cabinets throughout the house, please estimate the cost to replace or refinish as needed. Let's say that there's a linen closet at the end of the hall that definitely is going to need some love. And let's go ahead and put $500 in for that. Next question, if we are not replacing the kitchen countertops, does the sink and faucet need to be replaced? No, we are replacing the kitchen countertop. And condition of the garbage disposal, good condition or needs to be replaced? We'll leave that as good condition as well. Scrolling down, we're close to the end here. Doors. If any interior doors need to be replaced, how many? Let's replace 3 interior doors. Next question, if any exterior doors need to be replaced, how many? Let's go ahead and replace 1 exterior door. And finally, if any sliding glass doors need to be replaced, how many? Let's go ahead and replace 1 sliding glass door. Okay, so here's an interesting spot. This is called additional items. It reads this, the 2 cells below are your opportunity to add items to the scope of work that have not been covered up to this point in the questionnaire. Please input the item in the cells to the left and then input your estimated cost for each item in the corresponding cell to the right. So, we've gone through quite a few questions here. But of course we can't ask every question of everything that could possibly need to be repaired on a home. So let me give you a couple examples. Let's say that the back deck needs refinished, and let's say that's going to cost $1,800 is my estimate. And then let's say that we need some concrete work in driveway, and that concrete work is going to be estimated at $2,500. Now, before we move on, it's quite possible that there would be more than 2 items that you see need to be added to the scope that are not in here. So for that, I would just ask for you to bundle them together. So for example, concrete work in driveway, and then we can say plus new skylight, plus, what else could we fix? Maybe removal of shed in backyard. So we had $2,500 for the concrete. The new skylight, let's say that's $500, and the removal of the shed is $500. So that would take us from $2,500 up to $3,500. So we've now bundled together a few items to add to the scope, and then we bundled together the cost so that it would reflect appropriately. Next part is adjustments. Very similar to additional items, but adjustments are used for components of the scope that you did not have control over that may not need to be repaired or replaced. So for example, any of these where it's not yellow here in this column, those are areas where you we're not asked for input. So replace all electrical switches. Let's say for some reason this house has all new electrical switches, outlets, and covers. So we wouldn't need to replace that, right? So we would go down to adjustments. Use this section for any alterations deemed necessary to our normal scope of work calculation. Note, only use if the following documentation can be submitted with the alteration suggestion. Several clear photos along with a rational explanation. So for example, we were talking about the electrical switches. So what you would do is here you would type electrical switches are all new, right? And then over here, we would use a negative number. This won't work unless you use a negative number, but we're going to back that out of our scope of work. So we're going to say negative $500. And then we're going to make sure that if this form says that this is a good opportunity for us when we're done, and you send it in to us, please make sure that anywhere where you've used an adjustment, you are including photos to show us that those switches are in fact new. And same concept here. If there's more than 2 adjustments, then bundle them together in one of these with both the description as well as the cost. Okay, so we're just about done here. Next question is property value. Current MLS list price, let's say it's on the market for $135. As is market value, what is it worth right now where it's standing? It's not always the MLS list price for what it's worth. Sometimes they're asking more, sometimes it's under market. We would like to know that. For this example, let's go ahead and say it's listed appropriately at $135. Obviously, this is a really important question. After rehab market value. Now, when this is submitted to us, if in the next screen, if we see that it should be submitted, one of the first steps that we're going to take here at Nehemiah is we're going to bring this to a valuation expert. And this person is going to basically see if they agree or disagree with these numbers. One of the things that I would note is that if you are using comparables for your post-rehab value that do not match the scope of work that we have outlined, then we will certainly have some challenges with value. When you are selecting which comparables to use, please be cognizant of the fact that they need to be improved to a similar level that our scope of work will be. Sometimes that means we are improving at a greater pace than others, but oftentimes you'll see in pictures solid oak or cherry wood cabinets, a bit of a higher end rehab than what we're doing. Well, we would want to see comps that are more in line with the rehab that we're doing. So after rehab market value, let's say this one for you, it looks like it's $215,000. Your recommended offer amount. This is what you think we should offer. That could be $135,000, that could be less. Let's say that you think we should offer $130,000 for this property. Annual utilities, let's call it $1,800. Annual landscape, $100 a month, let's call that $1,200. And the last two are negative comments about this property. The neighborhood is somewhat scary. Why not? The roof needs to be replaced. Positive comments. Nicest floor plan on the block and close to a school. Nice park within a block. Okay, so at this point we have gone through the entire form. We've answered every question. And so the next step is to take a look and see, is this in line with what we are looking for as it relates to our benchmarks. The way you will find that out is clicking on the next tab over that says Initial Analysis. Let's go ahead and click that now. Uh-oh. As you can imagine, red is not a good color. So for this example, our profit percentage return is 1.29. Remember, our goal or requirement is 10% or greater. And then the profit number is only $2,421, and you may remember that as well needs to be $10,000 or more. So that we can move forward in this example, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the questionnaire, and I'm going to adjust the post-rehab price. That way we can make the numbers work. Obviously 215 wasn't enough. Let's try 225. Go back to the initial analysis. Now you can see, well, we're over on the profit amount, but we are still under on our profit percentage at almost 6%. So it looks like this property is going to have to sell for 230. Probably not enough yet. No. 230. Let's go ahead and try 230. Let's do 240. Okay, so at 240, this works. Now you can take a look at this page. It spells everything out pretty nicely. We have a purchase price of $130. We have an acquisition cost of $1,000. We have rehab and landscaping. So the rehab is estimated at $52,000. We're estimating that it will be in rehab for 4.38 months, and your 90-day estimate for time on the market equates to 3 months, for a total holding cost of $4,489, along with the selling cost of $27,000. When you add all of that up, we are going to be in it for $215,000. So for us to make our profit percentages, we are going to need to be real close to 240,000, probably 238, somewhere around there would get us to 10%. So with the example that we have now, you can see that we are green for the percentage, and we are also green for the profit amount, which means that this is something that we would be interested in looking at. Now the process that you just witnessed with me increasing the value, obviously that's something that you can do as well, but there will be a point where the value is no longer supported by the comps. So once you hit that point, then unless we can buy this for significantly less, this would not be a property that we would be interested in taking a look at. Before you submit to us, both of these boxes need to be green. Not just one. We need both boxes green to move forward. So let's go ahead. There's one more tab here, rehab estimate, but we are going to get into that in just a minute. I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint presentation. And we're going to go into what to do. So we just went through the whole process. Here's a super important point. That form is pretty much impossible to fill out unless you are at the property. For example, without gaining access and going through that property, you would never know how many square feet of carpet or tile or vinyl or hardwood is in there. There are way too many questions that significantly impact our rehab estimate that you would need to be there to answer. So please understand, we need you to go through the property. There's work you can do from your desk as discussed earlier. If it looks like it might be a good opportunity, that's when it's time to drive out there with the form, go through it, and see if it matches. Since we did end with two green boxes, that means we should move forward. So what we would like for you to do is save that analysis form to your computer so that you can email it to us. And we would also like pictures. We have a photo addendum available if you don't have one. We'll be reviewing that a little later during the rehab component. We would like an unfiltered CMA. We want to know everything going on in the area. Please do not filter out properties that are too big or too small. We want to know everything going on in that area for a half mile or so. And then if you feel good about this, I would recommend also completing the purchase offer so that once we go through our process of looking at the rehab scope and also all of the values, if we are on board with this to move forward, as you're all aware, many of these opportunities, time is of the essence. So if you will also include the purchase offer, that will give us the ability to just sign it and get it back to you quickly versus adding a step of coming back and saying, hey, we like this, can you get us an offer? Once you have all of those together, please email them to submit@nehemiahcorp.org. That's submit@nehemiahcorp.org. Okay, so to go along with that offer, when you're writing that up, please set it up for a 30-day close cash offer. Please use Nehemiah Community Reinvestment Enterprises LLC as the buyer name. We typically use $1,000 as the EMD, but we can go up to 10% if warranted. We must have a contingent inspection period. 7 to 10 days is preferred. Here in California, I think we're used to 14 days. If our contract is accepted, then we must receive the contractor bid and the BPO 48 hours prior to the end of that inspection period. We'll close in 21 to 30 days, and the offer needs to contain the following verbiage. Buyer reserves the right to finance the purchase at closing, but the sale is not contingent upon financing. If that offer is accepted, or maybe they have a counter and maybe we counter back, but if we're able to get to a place where we have an accepted offer, it is crucial that we manage the inspection period very carefully. There will be some moving parts, and these activities will tell us if we should stay in the deal or not. It is not acceptable to be waiting for a bid to come in 24 hours before the end of our contingency period. We'll back out of that transaction if we have to. As soon as possible, please set up a time to meet the contractor and walk the property with him or her. You must be there, no exceptions. Prior to the walkthrough, please go back to the analysis form and print the rehab estimate page. You will need to provide the contractor with that document for the walkthrough. So let's go ahead and look at that real quick. So back to our analysis form. So we filled out the questionnaire. We looked at the initial analysis, which told us whether we should move forward or not, because we're moving forward in this example, and we've made an offer and that offer's been accepted. Now we're in contract, and we need you to meet with that contractor as soon as possible. When you show up and meet the contractor, we need you to provide this form. So if you click on the Rehab Estimate tab, this is all set up to print, and the way you answered all of those questions built out this scope of work, which is directly in line with how we like to and are required to rehab these homes. So as we saw in the initial analysis, we have a $52,511.20 rehab estimate, and here are all the line items. So the purpose of this form is to provide guidance relating to the scope of work and estimated cost for the rehab, and as you can see, the address is even up here, right? So you can just hand this to the contractor. These estimates, and this is information for you to know because the contractor may very well ask. These estimates are based on the cost of repairs in the particular zip code this home occupies. It is of the utmost importance that during the bidding walkthrough, the contractor notes any additional repairs that are not identified on this form that could create challenges in the sale of this home. Also, please include any FHA health and safety issues that the contractor might observe. The Neighborhood Restoration Program provides a product guide that includes approved color palettes and product decisions like appliances, etc. If you need that or the contractor needs it, just request it and we'll get that to you right away. It's important that the contractor get the bid back to us quickly. Be sure to mention that to the contractor. Once we have the written bid, there is typically a process of negotiation. This is based on the concept that there will be items on the bid that are must-haves versus would be nice to have. For example, if there are holes in the walls, we must fix that. However, doing a complete refinish to the back deck might not be required. We may be better off removing the deck completely and building a few stairs. If the cost to refinish that deck takes us out of the game, then we're all better off to know what is a must-have and what would be a nice-to-have. Because if we can just remove that repair of the deck and just demo it, and that gets us where we need to be, well, now we all have a property to work on. Let me get back to our PowerPoint. Once the rehab bidding process is taken care of, we will need your help in the closing of the purchase, and we're also going to need a BPO. So we do have a BPO form if you don't have one already. This is our BPO form here. It probably looks very familiar to most of the people watching or viewing this training. It's very straightforward. I have a few notes regarding our BPO, but also know that we have an 11-page document that will tell you exactly how we want this filled out if you need any guidance. So for our BPOs, we're looking for post-repaired value. You should generate the rehab cost from our analysis form, and that's why we're doing it in this order. Analysis form first. You can't do the analysis form without going to the property and walking it. Once you have completed the analysis form, it gives you a cost for the estimated scope, and we know that that's the scope that we are required to do. You can find the total rehab cost along with each line item on the rehab estimate tab on the analysis form once you've completed the questionnaire section. It is required that the total rehab cost on your BPO matches the analysis form. This ensures that the total rehab estimate is in line with our required scope of work. You cannot complete, like I said, you cannot complete the BPO without completing the analysis form first. You cannot complete the analysis form without gaining access and walking the property. Since this is a post-rehab BPO, it is also required that all of the comparables used are properties that have been improved to a similar level. If you need guidance, please refer back to the rehab estimate tab of the analysis form and review each line item. The properties you use for comparables should have undergone a similar scope before they went onto the market if available. If there are no properties that received a similar rehab scope, please make condition adjustments. Okay, let's see here. In the marketing strategy section of the BPO, you should always select repaired and owner-occupied. In the market value section, there's market strategy. In the market value section of the BPO, the as-is value should never be the same as the repaired value, and I can't tell you how often we get that. It is possible that the total rehab cost exceeds the post-repaired value of the asset. However, it should not be possible for a property to be worth $65,000 as is and have no increase in value after it has been rehabbed to our standards. If you will provide accurate as-is, post-repaired, and total construction costs, we will know exactly how to disposition this property. If these numbers are not accurate, we are making decisions that are ill-informed. The whole point of this exercise is to avoid ill-informed decisions, which leads to loss of capital and inefficiencies. We'll go back. If you have further questions, like I mentioned earlier, we have a Nehemiah BPO guidelines. It's an 11-page document. Please request that from anybody on our staff. There are also a handful of property preservation tasks that we'll need your help with at this point in the process. These tasks may be requested by one of our staff members, or depending on your location, our asset management company may make the request. We will need the home to be rekeyed, utilities need to be set up, landscaping needs to be set up, and we will need you to stop by and inspect the property once a week while it is in rehab. While on your inspection visits, we will need photos so that we can get a sense for the progress of the rehab from our office. This is an absolute requirement. If you are unable to check in on this property once a week while it's in rehab, we should not move forward. Once the rehab is complete, we will need you to set up another walkthrough with yourself and the contractor. Both of you need to be present to do the final QC walkthrough. You will need to complete both the QC form and the photo addendum. The photo addendum will provide pics of each of the scope items. So when you look at our scope of work, everything that the contractor did, we need pictures showing that that work is done. In addition to that, we're going to need you at this point, now that the property is rehabbed, to also include marketing pictures of the property so that we can use those in the process. Let's quickly look at the QC form. So let's see here. Here's a QC form that's completed, and it will show up already filled out for you. Our rehab manager will go in and take care of all of that. So you'll have your address and then the entire scope of work. All of the line items are in here. And so you're going to need to select whether it's complete or not, the quality of the work, and if any corrections need to be done. Obviously, this check mark is for if corrections were needed. You check that off when it's complete. Every single one of these items needs to be taken care of. We need good pictures. We need you to feel good about it. And we need you there with the contractor. It will not work if it's just you or if it's just the contractor. Here is our photo addendum. This is very basic, but it does give you the ability to drop a photo in and also to give it a title. So you can put living room, street view, whatever it is that the photo is of. You can put that next to each of those boxes. Okay, almost done. Once the rehab is complete, we will need you to set up another walkthrough with yourself. Oops, pardon me. Now that we have made it through the rehab stage, it is time to get this property listed and sold. You'll be working with our transaction coordinator to create a marketing plan, and we will also need an updated BPO now that the rehab is complete. Once the offers start coming in, we will need your help getting a copy of the EMD, proof of funds for cash transactions, and a pre-qual letter for non-cash offers, and of course the buyer's compliance form. Upon an accepted offer, we will need your help closing out the transaction with the help of our transaction coordinator. Okay, so that sums up today's training. You should have a good idea of who Nehemiah is. As I mentioned, we're not a bank. We're not looking to do REO flips. We are a nonprofit that is doing good in communities across the United States. We have reviewed the analysis form. That is obviously a big part of our process and a valuable tool because you could literally walk through any property, answer the questions, and know whether Nehemiah would buy this property or not. You can look at us as a large institutional buyer, and we would be more than happy to do 2 or 3 of these transactions per month with you. Maybe you don't even need another customer. How great would that be? We've reviewed our BPO standards and requirements. We've looked at our QC walkthrough. We've looked at the photo addendum. We've gone through the process of getting the bid in, getting the rehab started. You know that we need you at that property every single week and providing pictures back. And we've reviewed our process of getting it on the market, getting a marketing plan written, getting the listing out there, and then ultimately getting the property sold. If anybody needs to reach me, my cell phone number is 916-283-1458. My email address is listed. And for these offers, please use the submit@nehemiahcorp.org email address. I have a large number of people that are all looking at that inbox. We know time is of the essence for these types of transactions, and we will be looking at them just as soon as they come in. If you have any questions, please call me or email me. Thank you so much for taking the time to go through this training, and we do look forward to doing a lot of business with you in your area. Thanks again. Have a great day.